Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where we are currently, neck deep in migrating our generate buildings into the world hex, and we've run into a small issue here where we need to know our adjacency in our building hexes in the actual in the actual hex store, or we need to know our building that is assigned in the hex itself. In the building hex. So, I mean, one of those things need to change, or we need to know how we need to know which hex goes with which hex, if that makes any sense. We need to know which building hex goes with which hex store. So, in order to do this, that's what we need. And then the question is, how do I want to implement that? There are multiple ways we could implement that. I mean, we could very easily put back in a hex ID here, and then assign an ID and do all that. That's an option. We could just say it's a one-to-one thing. So, and I believe that's what we're already doing. So, for example, subhex's I corresponds to building hex's I. So, for example, we would be able to do... If subhex's I.neighbors j, that's the problem though. Subhex's I corresponding to building hex's I is easy enough, but the hex store doesn't have any concept of adjacency. We could figure it out. We could definitely figure it out. So, here's the thing. I figured out how we can figure it out. This is quite the if statement, though, and it's going to be a interesting thing. So connected neighbors is a list of vector 3s. That's fine. So this is going to obviously be... And I'm going to bring this down to a different line so we can see this a little bit better. This is still going to be a little confusing. So subhexmanager.subhexes. This will compile, but this isn't going, strictly speaking, to work. But we can just add in subhexmanager dot to all of these subhexes. And the reason this isn't strictly speaking going to work is because we're only storing the buildings in biome hex right now. And that's because we don't really want to be storing data in the building hex. And realistically, inside of the building hex, because we don't really want to be storing data here, we probably no longer need a building here, or a biome here. And everything else here, I think, is fine. So, I mean, obviously we're going to have some issues here. So road does not exist here. We are in biome hex.buildings I. So biome x.buildings I would then equal buildings.road intersection 3-way. Or rather, not buildings, just building.road intersection 3-way. And of course, we've got issues up here again, because we don't actually have access to this information anymore. We'll have to fix that in a bit. But I'm going to go ahead and do this for right now. Building dot capital R. Thought I was going to sneeze. Apparently not. Okay. That was exciting. So here we can go ahead and do subhex manager. We're calculating rotation at this point. So subhex manager dot subhexes dot neighbors dot count, blah blah blah. And we'll also do subhex manager dot approximately equal. That should be callable. It is indeed. We probably want to have this in some sort of a utility script, but I'm lazy. So we'll do it this way for now and just hack it together. What could possibly go wrong in the future? Oh boy. Okay, so we're assigning our rotations here. And I think we don't actually need a rot variable. So if we got rid of this, rot equals vector3.0. Actually, we'll keep it. We'll keep it. It's fine. Because we use it later on, and we change it and transform it and things like that. So for right now, we'll do this and just paste these in. Add fake adjacency is private. Yes. So we'll hop over here, and we'll need to make this public so that the world hex can use it. And then subhex is i.transform.position. Approximate contains. So we will go to definition. We'll make this public so that world hex can use it. Again, these things should probably be in a utility script, but it's fine. Dot approximate contains there, and then debug.log. I mean, that shouldn't happen. Okay, and let's keep on fixing some of these bugs, or rather some of these compile errors. Some of these up here aren't going to work, like this here. Because, like, for example, current hex, we're going to need to know, it's a building hex right now, we're going to need to be doing this checking in a hex store. We'll rework that in a little bit. Same thing here, we need to figure out basically the same problem there. But let's just push on and get the easy stuff out of the way first. So this here is going to be exactly like this up here was, where we set our biomehex.buildingsI. So biomehex.buildingsI equals building.roadjunction two-way. This here would be simply coming off of the sub-hex manager. Like so. And get sharp corner rotation is private, isn't it? Yes, it is. We'll make that public. There we go. And proceed right on. Okay. So this is an E intersection. We will go ahead and... Whoa! There we go. We will go ahead and do that. And then sub-hex manager dot get corner rotation, which is probably private. Indeed it is. We'll make that public for now. Excellent. And then get straight rotation, which is probably also private. Yep, indeed it is. We'll make that public. Again, we could move these, place these in a different location, but this is fine for right now. So I'm just going to go through for right now and just paste in all of these sub-hex manager references that we need. Add fake adjacency, subhex is I, approximate contains, subhex is I, blah blah blah. Approximately equal. We're not going to be doing these just yet. I will come back and do those. Road equals bendy junction. Get corner rotation. Subhex is I. Subhex is I. Get straight rotation. Subhex is I. Approximately equal. Approximately equal. Subhex is I. Okay, and then we're determining what type of prefab to spawn here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab all of this, since this is spawning. And I'm going to cut this for right now. And we're going to paste this in the sub-hex manager in the populate building mesh, or populate buildings function. Obviously, it's not all going to work immediately, but that's fine. We'll place it right there for right now. And then here, we can go ahead and we're missing a couple of things, like this and this. Actually, that created more errors, I think. Yeah, just that. And then we can go ahead and where is rot declared at? Go to implementation. Rot is declared at this level here. Okay, so when this if closes here. So rot is declared here. So biome hex dot buildings I dot rot biome hex dot buildings. Oh wait. Dot building rotation. I think I called it. I forget what I called it. Hex store. Buildings rots. Okay, building rots. Okay, I kind of hate that. I'm going to go with building rotation. It's not that much more to type. So building rotation I equals quaternion.Euler rot. Easy enough. And now we're storing the rotation. Excellent. Okay, so we've got a few more issues here. Clean up sub-hexes in sub-hex manager. That should be a thing. Sub-hex manager. Oh, I bet it's just that it's a... Yeah. It doesn't have a list of buildings here. It should have a list of buildings. It does have a list of buildings. Okay. I think it's just that there's errors up here. We will fix those in a bit. So, we can then go ahead and do if biome hex, or rather if building hexes dot buildings I equals building dot road. So we're going to need a for loop here for int I equals 0. I is less than building hexes dot count I plus plus. Okay. And then we would need to come all the way down here and place a curly brace there. Excellent. So if building hexes dot buildings, why does that not exist in hex store? It should. This is a list of hex store. Oh, this is a list of hex stores. Right. We're not going to be passing in the list. Are we? Is it just going to be the single hex? Let's check. So when we actually click on the world hex, which would be in update, which I believe is up here? Ish? Maybe not. Ah, it's in on mouse over. So when we do that, we are... It's actually in biome hexes on mouse over. We are doing populate buildings, and then we pass in... We pass in the building hex, which would be the hex store, which we don't actually have. Okay. So we are then going to definitely need a public hex store biome hex, like so. And then we just pass in the biome hex. Like that. Of course, it's not assigned, but we can assign the hex up here. So when we're doing the biome generation up here, we can go ahead and say something along the lines of right here, subhex manager dot biome. Well, actually, we don't necessarily know that. Okay. I don't think that's going to work. So instead, what we could do is when we click on it, we could come on down here, make sure that our selected world hex is set to this before we do it, and it is. And then if we click on the biome hex, we know that there's a selected world hex. So then we can pass in selected world hex dot biome hexes, and this would be from the subhex manager, which we don't actually know about. Oh, I called it sub-hexes here for some reason. So sub-hex manager dot... is it just hex manager? Dot selected world hex. We don't know about the hex manager, apparently. So let's go ahead and create that. We don't need this anymore, actually. So public hex manager, and then... oh, we have it. It's just called the manager. What am I talking about? And that suddenly became quite small. There we go. So then this would be manager.selectedWorldHex, which apparently it doesn't have. Oh, because I capitalized it. Okay. SelectedWorldHex.BiomeHexes. And this would be... we would grab what for the index here? SelectedWorldHex.BiomeHexes. This would be essentially the index of the biome hex in the subhex manager. So subhex manager, and actually I called it, what is the subhex manager called? This doesn't know about the subhex manager? Okay. That seems a little weird. Public subhex manager. Submanager. Okay, we'll make sure that it knows about it. Submanager equals GameObject.find. Object of type, subhex manager. There we go. Oh my, I'm suddenly starting to hiccup here. That's no good. Okay, I think it may have stopped. So let's then go ahead and pass in subhex manager. Nope. Submanager. And this will be submanager dot, and we're going to grab our subhex manager. Yeah, so let's just figure out what we need here. I can't remember what I called it here, and this seems a little weird. Component.animation. Biomehex.submanager. Right. Subhex manager, okay. So let's go to the subhex manager. And it should have a public list of subhexes. Yes. So submanager dot subhexes dot index of this. Okay. So, let's see, this is in subhex manager. I'm looking for the error that is happening here. Cannot convert from hex store to building hex. Why is it... oh, this takes a type of building hex. That is incorrect. Okay, go to implementation. This should, instead of building hex... what is even happening here? This should be hex store biome hex. Okay, there we go. So we got that. I is less than biome hex dot buildings dot count. There we go. And then biome hex dot buildings I equals building dot road. Okay, there we go. So that should now be working. Of course, cleanup subhexes isn't exactly working yet, but that's largely because there's a lot of errors up here, I think. So we should be fine. Okay, so with that being done, I think we can now start working again on some of these issues here. So, in the world hex, let's hop on over to here. We have not solved this issue yet, but sub-hex manager does not contain a definition for approximately equal. I believe that is because populate buildings isn't working correctly yet, but that's okay. We should be able to go through and fix this. So instead of road equals road corner, we can do biome hex dot buildings I equals building dot road corner, like so. And then our rot is being determined here. Why is our rot being determined here? Hang on. I feel like this shouldn't be here. I feel like all of this here should be more like in here. Because I don't think all of the rotations are assigned yet here. So let's go ahead and put this right on back here. I'm going to place this back where it was. Okay. So, I mean, this kind of broke everything. But this is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and fix this one right here. Biome hex dot buildings I equals road intersection two-way. So this will be building dot road intersection two-way, like that. Perfect. Same thing here. Biome hex dot buildings I equals building dot road intersection Y. Oh my. This is just not my day. I had a coughing fit there. That was exciting. Okay, so this should be biome hex I, or dot buildings I equals building dot road bendy junction. Okay, same thing here. Biome hex dot buildings I equals building dot road junction. There we go. And let's just keep on going. So this then should be sub-hex manager dot. And I just want to make this actually compile. I mean, it's almost certainly not going to work as is. But I just want to make it compile. So let's do this. So get corner rotation, subhexes, biome hex dot buildings I equals buildings dot road, or rather building dot road, and then road prefab. We're basing it off of the existing rotation of the road prefab, which is just vector 3.0. Okay. So then rot would then be equal to vector 3.0, and then we set the rotation here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and paste in the sub-hex manager here and here, and here and here. Fix 4 more errors. Biome hex dot buildings I equals building dot road corner sharp. And then, come on. Biome hex dot buildings I equals building dot road corner. That is not how you spell building. There we go. biome hex dot buildings I equals building dot road prefab. And let's determine the rotation. There we go. We don't actually have I here. Okay. I think we had one too many in our okay. I'm trying to figure out exactly where we're supposed to be here. I think this here is fine-ish. Okay. We have too many then. So then we would place this here, and this here, and delete this. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay. So let's hop on up here and take a quick look at what this one is. Okay, this is just a... Oh. This needs to be sub hexes dot... Oh wait, sub hex manager. What am I talking about? There we go. Excellent. Okay, so we're down to 15 errors. That's getting close. So, else biome hex dot buildings I equals building dot road prefab. This would just be building dot road. Okay, so that's 14 errors. And then this is the instantiation here at the correct angle. So I feel like at this point we should go ahead and set the rotation. And then this right here is what we should put into our building hex. Or rather into our sub hex manager in populate buildings. Like that. Now obviously that's not going to work exactly as is. But that's fine. So let's go ahead and do an if statement here. So not an if, a for statement. For int I equals 0, I is less than biome hex dot buildings dot count. Typing is hard. Buildings dot count I++. And then we will place this inside of that. So if biome hex buildings I equals building.road, or it equals building.road intersection generic, then we need to get the actual type. So we're going to need a switch statement here. We're going to need to fix this. But overall, we are very close to having this compile, if not functional. However, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, I think we'll be able to finish this off. See you all then.